Yo, what's up, guys? So we got our client a 10x ROAS on his webinar, actually over a 10x ROAS. And in this video, I really just want to break down the data so you guys can see what's good, what's bad, what the general benchmarks are, and how you can actually make changes based on the data and overall just what a high performing webinar actually looks like. So let's get into it. If this is confusing at all, just leave me a comment below. But really the first place that we're going to look is the actual ads manager. So you can see we spent $1,500 on ads over the whole 4-day promotion cycle, and we got around an $8.30 cost per result, which is good for a warm webinar. The typical benchmark is going to be anywhere from $5 to $12. So you're pretty much paying anywhere from $5 to $12 for a single person to sign up. We're right smack dab in the middle of that. So I look at that and no red flags raised in my head. I'm like, cool, that's the first thing. What is the price it's taking to actually get people to sign up for this? That looks good to me. Let's move on to the next aspect of this, which is going to be just the reach. So 27,000 unique people saw this ad. And if you actually go into GHL, you can see how many people clicked through and landed on the landing page. So 1697 over 27,000. You can see here that is around 6% click through, which again is good for a warm webinar. You're going to be anywhere from 3 to 5, so we're above the general benchmark. So I'm just like going through from top down and just seeing, cool, what does the data look like? That looks good to me. Again, no red flags. I'm not going to change anything. In terms of the creatives, I'm going to test different creatives and actually just go based on what's already working. So cool, that's good there. Now we really get into the data about the actual funnel, right? Because we looked at the ad manager data, we looked at, cool, are these people clicking through? Yes, they are. Now, how many people are actually signing up? So we had, again, 1,700 people actually viewed the page, and we had 262 registrants. Sorry, I can't really say that word, but cool. We had 15% of people actually saw the page sign up, and the benchmark for warm is around 8 to 12. So again, that tells me that the actual headline is good. And if you actually want to see what the headline is and the ads we actually ran are, that's in the last video. So you can actually take a look at that for yourself and see what's performing well. We've seen static ads have actually been performing really well, especially for webinars, typically not on a call funnel. But anyway, cool. So around 50% of people are seeing the landing page, are actually clicking through. That tells me the headline is good. The ads are actually aligning with what's on the headline, and it's making people actually want to sign up for this. So we had 262 registrants, and everything in terms of the ads in the funnel has looked good so far. We actually did have not a lot of people buy VIP, which I will get into, but let's just really continue down the actual funnel here. So 262 registrants, and out of those 262, we had 24% of people show up, so 64 live attendees, which actually is not great. For a warm webinar, you ideally want to be at least above 30, so this can really come down to a couple things. We did notice a lot of people in the CRM were just like had emergencies, people were busy. They're actually texting us, so we're going to funnel all those people to the next webinar, but aside from that, it could be the day and the time you run the webinar, depending on what niche you're in, and it could also really just come down to the email and the SMS sequences. I think our email to SMS was actually decent. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking maybe we could test some different email in terms of like giving them more value and giving them more of a reason to actually show up. But I didn't think it was that bad. I'm actually not gonna change much based off of this, but I'm just curious to see what the show rate looks like on this next webinar. And if it's the same, if it's just worse, then we'll probably make changes there. But even here, like just considering what the ROAS was, I'm not really gonna make changes off of that. But again, you ideally want to be at 30%. Cool. So now we have 64 people actually show up to the webinar, and you can see this is what the retention graph looks like. At peak, we had almost 50 people, and around the pitch, which is like right around here, we still had around like 35. So it's overall not bad. If you want like a really good retention graph, then you just want it to pretty much look like this. And then when you start pitching, that's when it starts going down. So there could have been some things improved in the overall presentation, and really where you see this the most is in the amount of book calls, because we had 64 people book calls, 64 people show up to the webinar, and only 6 book calls. That's 9%. And you want to be at around 15 to 25. So how do you actually improve that? That all comes down to the presentation. So for example, it's going to come down to how well you present the offer, how well you handle specific questions, and how long you just sit in the pocket and just handle any concerns or objections. So for example, like on this last webinar, we definitely could have done a better job actually just like presenting the offer in general, making it sound like something that was super irresistible instead of just giving them just a bunch of free value the entire time. And then also like people were asking like why is this 10K? like, what do I do if I don't have that much? And we weren't really actually answering the question or their specific concerns. So actually being prepared for that, knowing how to handle objections, like if they say 10K, I mean, it's pretty simple, especially if you've been on the whole webinar, you have that level of authority. You can literally just say, I mean, how much do you feel like you could actually make if you made that investment in yourself? I mean, you can see, I mean, you saw the results. Do you think this is more of an expense or an investment? Like a couch is an expense. You just got that thing sitting in your living room. But I mean, how much do you feel like you could actually be making a month if you actually took that bet on yourself? You could literally just say something like that. It's literally just handling their concerns. It's just concern handling, pretty much. And just answering their questions at the end. That's going to get you a lot of book calls, which is definitely something that we need to improve specifically for our webinar. And yeah, from there, if we really just go into the sales data, you can see we had 6 book calls. 4 of those showed up, which is around 67%, which is, again, good for warm. You want to be typically anywhere from like 50 to 75%. And actually, 3 out of 4 of those people closed. So 75% close rate, which isn't bad. Again, it's not a lot of volume, so it is kind of hard to really say. At higher volume, maybe it'll be different, but you can tell all the people who hopped on, they liked the offer owner, they trusted him, and they were pretty much ready to go. And that's essentially the power of a webinar. So, essentially, what am I actually going to change for the next webinar? I don't want to change a ton of factors. Most of the stuff I'm going to keep the same. We're going to test different ad creatives, and we're going to also just leverage ones that already worked and just make different variations of those. So that's one thing. We're going to use what already worked. We're going to really hone in on the presentation. Make sure that we are presenting the offer as good as humanly possible and handling objections and concerns at the end and doing the Q&A for as long as necessary and making that portion as influential and persuasive as possible to get them to actually book a call. So those are the 2 main things. But even aside from that, and it's actually kind of too late because we already launched the next webinar, but VIP. We had 1 person buy VIP out of the 262 registrants, and that person piffed 10K. So you can see the power of VIP, but ideally you want to have like around 3 to 8% of people actually buying VIP, and we only had 1 person. That's like 0.3%. So that's going to be a very high point of leverage actually moving forward. And a lot of this is going to come down to any sort of, like, just, you don't want to be too hung up on it, but even just like 1 email, 1 SMS that redirects them to VIP, but then also on the landing page, making the VIP upsell VSL as good as possible. So I know I yapped a lot. If you guys have any questions about like the data, how this works, what's good, what's bad, let me know. If you want to see specifically what we did, the ads, the VSLs, the funnel, that's all in the last video. So take a look at that. And if you want any help with this, you can book a call in the description below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.